Yeah. No, it's okay. Nothing to say. If you want to share something.
So I wrote down, I just kind of confirmed that if you guys were good with it, as far as like, a couple minutes of introducing yourselves, and then, up to 5 minutes for just your opening argument. When it gets into the discussion part of it, I don't know if you guys just wanted to let loose, just back and forth between the two of you. You want to have intervals of person asking the other person questions, and then I would have that for a certain time and then rotate the other way around, or do you guys have any preference on that part?
Yeah, Daniel. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, at that point, I'll pretty much just open it up at that point. I'm sure you guys will both have follow-up questions for each other, and I'm sure you guys will just take turns naturally.
Yeah.
For me? Or
Tracy.
Tracy?
He's talking about Tracy.
Oh, you can unmute Tracy if you want. You can either hold spacebar or you can click the microphone.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Well, Rick, nice to see you. It's been forever. I keep wanting to.
I know.
Things will come. I don't. So I want to get back and join in. But hi. So hi, guys. First of all, good luck with the debate. I think it's going to be really great to hear you both. I personally think God exists, and so it's going to be an interesting debate. Fully, many people don't acknowledge the existence of God, and so I always want to hear that argument, because I think it's a worthwhile. It's just a good human interaction discussion. And I graduated from Davis with a degree in religious studies, and so I had a whole lot of education in different world religions. And so for me, it's once again, it's really just an intriguing topic all around. And so I think you guys both are going to have really great things to offer. And yeah, I hope you're not nervous. I'm here to support both of you. So I hope to have a great debate.
Yeah.
Sure. I stepped in early because Rick sent a message around and said, guys, don't come in at the last minute, because once we get started, we don't want to have a lot of people join. But I'm sorry, I stepped in so early and got in the middle of your discussion. So sorry about that. And now I don't know how to, now I don't know how to turn my video, so I'm gonna be staring at you the whole time. So sorry.
So you don't have to at all. You can keep your video up. I might just mute others while one person's talking, just because there are a lot of people that can come in with background noise, but you may not want your video up. If you do want to turn it up, there's a little camera icon that you should be able to switch on and off. But
I thought I could do that, but I think I bypassed it. So anyway, I'm not worried. I can always put a piece of tape over my camera if I really cared.
There you go.
But yeah, also, sorry, Rick, I actually have my dryer going. That's probably some of the background noise that you first heard when I first logged on. I've got a noisy dryer happening. So yes, I will keep myself muted during everything.
Cool. Yeah. Tracy, are you interested in ever being in a debate?
Oh gosh, no. I enjoy having a lot of discussions, but I'm really want to convince anyone of my position. I'm way more interested in just the dialogue and hearing, what other people say. And all my life I've had discussions with people, and that it's never resulted in anybody being convinced of my position on that matter. So yeah, but no, I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, there's never that one moment, like you never see someone's opinion changed in real time. But it is interesting when you do hear about people that have changed their position on something. It's like having that conversation over and over again, and then they're like, "Huh, yeah, I got to think about it," and then they have doubt or something, and then maybe they're on the fence. Over maybe years, they might say they've changed their position.
Yeah, and you may or may not be around to actually see that happen, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mohammed, what is it over there for you? You're in Pakistan.
Yeah, it's 61 a.m.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you're 11.
Yeah.
And is that, I forgot, us or ahead of us? Is it March 5th for you?
I'm ahead from you.
Oh, ahead. Okay, it's March 6th the next morning. So it's Saturday morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Saturday morning.
Mohammed, are you traveling? Are you there with COVID and not coming back for a while? Or, how did you get this particular meetup group?
Actually, I'm not traveling. I'm basically from Pakistan, and yeah. So I was just browsing and scrolling meetup app to interesting meetups to have a discussion, good discussion, intellectual, critical thinking things to discuss or to explore the different ideas, what people think about them, something like that. Yeah.
Good. Well, this is a good group to do that with. Yeah.
That's how I got to interact with Rick and Daniel, and they both are really good persons.
Oh, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're participating this way tonight. Thank you. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, that's kind of the silver lining with doing online discussions is we've got people all over the world that are joining. There was a debate we did, I forgot if it was January or before that, but it was a debate on abortion, and one of the debaters was from the UK. There have been people from Japan joining, so it's really cool. Even when COVID's over, we're meeting in person again. We'll keep doing the online stuff too, just so that people long distance can join in.
Very cool. I didn't realize that. That's there you go. The byproduct of COVID, right? That how these things work out.
Yeah. Yeah, this is to get away from it all.
That's true. That is true. Yep. Mm-hmm. Hmm. That's true. That is true. Yeah. So you're Daniel, right? Are you the pro or the con in this debate? You're the con. Okay.
Are you the good one or the bad one?
And did you say your name is Daniel? Is that correct? Oh, hi. So how long have you been part of this meetup group? Mm. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. If he took the dogma out, yes, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Who are you? Who are
Yeah,
you?
with I think.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
and I don't want to speak for you, Daniel, but I know Daniel and I, we talked about different ways of, because I know Daniel basically wants to do exactly what we're doing here with like just hosting, moderating also. He has his own meetup group as well. And so we're definitely, collaborating, but we're also both really busy. We were just saying earlier how it's hard to find time to really do all this. So we'll be collaborating more as we try organizing more of these. So, today it's, but, next event could be with his group, which I'd be cross-posting. So hopefully the more of these we can do, the better, whatever we can find time for. Mm-hmm.
Daniel, how do you spell that? Great, thank you.
Cool. Looks like, so let's just past 6 now. I'll wait maybe just another minute or two as people are going to jump in, and then we'll start with our official shows and everything. Daniel, for that planksip, the writers that you're looking for, are you looking for writing on not just specific topics, but any particular positions on specific topics, or like what kind of writing, I guess, would you be looking for specifically if someone wanted to join? Awesome. And I saw Scott posted in the chat, it looks like the correct link to planksip.org, so that's something that people can check out. So what I will do, we're a few minutes past, looks like we got a good number of people on here, so I could get started now just by introducing. So first off, I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Should be very fun discussion slash debate, but it's going to be very casual, you know, all cool. Basically, so this is a cross posting between 2 different meetup groups that I organized. One's the Think and Drink group, and then also the Debate Time, where it's pretty much collaborating the casual nature of the deep philosophical discussions that we typically do, but also in a more formal setting. By having this formal setting, it allows us to kind of dive into a topic on a way where the 2 debaters have kind of put a lot of thought into the topic, and so it helps kind of bring a new perspective onto big questions like these. And so for tonight's topic, it is, does God exist? Where we have Muhammad, who is holding the position of yes, God does exist, and then Daniel, that is going to be debating the side of no, God does not exist. So the structure, oh, and I'll say that we're constantly looking for anyone that's willing to participate in a debate. So we've communicated a lot with both Muhammad and Daniel, so everyone has agreed with the terms of the debate, and so it's all set up in a structure that everyone agrees with. So if anyone feels like they're not sure about if they're comfortable doing it, just keep in mind that we work out the details so it's in a way that everyone is comfortable with the setting that we have, with the structure that we lay out. And so definitely contact me, send me a direct message if you're interested in debating. I know there are some people that I've been trying to work out debates with that I need to follow up with, and I promise I will. but please follow up. Please send me a message if you are interested, and I will work with you to set you up with a debate partner. It could be any specific topic. It could be an improvised topic, really just anything. So that's part of the nature of it. So for tonight's structure, we're going to do brief introductions of both Mohammed and Daniel. They'll be introducing themselves. There will be just very brief opening arguments from both of them, just up to 5 minutes from each of their sides. And it's really going to be more about an open discussion / debate between the two of them. So after their opening arguments, it will be roughly 30 minutes of them just having that casual back and forth discussion / debate. And by roughly 7 o'clock, we will be in the Q&A session of this. So that's going to be where anyone here can use the raise hand function that's set up in 8x8. So if you use the raise hand at that point, I'll call on you and we'll get to that point, or you can put your message in the chat. Even before we get to the Q&A session, I'll be rotating between people with their hand up versus a question that's been posted in the chat. And they will both have opportunities to respond to the question. And so that will go on for basically the second hour. And then at 8 o'clock, it's pretty much going to be opened up like every other casual meetup that we have that just goes on, you know, until it goes on, where it's just going to be open discussion, just kind of a free-for-all. But I'll be somewhat moderating just because there will be a lot of people on here. If someone wants to say something, just keep using the raise hand function. I'll just be rotating people in a couple minutes or minute or so in at a time, and we'll just kind of go from there. So diving right in, we will start with Mohammed. If you would give your introduction, you have up to a couple minutes. Introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Daud, and I'm representing the yes position, or supporting the yes position of does God exist or not. And so in that form that I'm a Muslim, so I represent that as a Muslim, or like on the both side of that position, nobody can prove something in that position, does God exist or not, but I do believe that God exists. So that means that I should have some good reasons or authentic ones, or the reasons, there should be a principle on which my reasons should be based upon, and every person have a different reasons to believe on every different things in the different aspect of their life. And so I choose, or I establish to make that principle for me, that it should be, my belief should be based upon logic, it should be rational, and it should be scientific. Like my belief and the conceptualization of God should not be contradictory with the logic, with the science and rationality. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome, thank you. And I referred to you earlier as Mohammed. Do you prefer Dawood?
Yeah, Dawood. Actually, it's not first name, second name confusion.
Oh, okay. I'll just go as Dawood because that's your name on here. So
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And we will kick it over to Daniel if you'd like to introduce yourself. Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. So we will get into our opening arguments. So we will start with Dawood, if you want to begin, this will be up to 5 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, that I do believe that I make that principles, or I establish that principle to find the truth by my own, and how I reconcile that thing with the Islam, or as I mentioned before, that I'm a Muslim. So in Islam, what Islam represents, it represents that there is one God. That means it represents that God does exist, and there's last messenger called Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and there's a concept in Islam that how do we know that what is the concept or conceptual, how will we conceptualize the existence of God, or what it could be. So in Islamic perspective, there is a concept that we could know about the God which He reveals to us, and I believe that He reveals to us about it itself by His messengers. So it's upon their messengers that we can reconcile, and we can establish, like everyone can establish, because that's not something which I could prove to someone, because someone could have a different standards of truth which they could establish for them. So I will represent it in a way that I made my standards. My standards are rational, scientific, logical, and I could represent that. I could surely say that Islamic God, or Islamic point of view about the conceptualization of God is based upon, or it is not contradictory with these three principles. And I should continue, or Daniel will?
Yeah, if that's a wrap, we can end right there. You do have extra time if you did want to cover anything else, but if you're good there. Thank you for that. Daniel, the floor is yours. You have up to 5 minutes for your opening argument.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, uh, Allah is the name of God, as we call. Muhammad is the prophet and messenger for us. Yeah, you said Muhammad the God. Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you,
Yeah,
Daniel.
that's it.
So we are doing really good on time right now, but we are at the spot basically where it's pretty much just going to be open dialogue between the two of you. So you guys have pretty much agreed to no particular structure as far as like cross-examination or anything. It's pretty much going to be a free flow. We'll have this going for about 30 minutes, or maybe just depending on the flow of the conversation, we may or may not sooner or later go into Q&A from the audience here. But you guys go have at it. Open discussion between the two of you.
Okay. I would like to you, Daniel, please start. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that was a really good point. Actually, there's a difference what is the teachings of Islam and what the Muslims do. Okay, so I could just represent or I could just share what are the teachings of Islam because as I talk about myself, maybe there are so many things which I don't use to practice or by chance I didn't practice or I didn't uh, have my choice at that time by the teachings of Islam, and it could happen with anyone. So there's a different aspect that teachings of Islam and what peoples like to do. As you talked about the woman, so in Islam there's a concept that women and men are not equal, but for the justice, while the justice, everyone is equal to each other. Okay, so that concept means that you other than justice or opportunities. Okay, and we are structurized like that. We are structurized like that. That I was talking with an atheist in Pakistan. That the topic was do equality exist or not, or anyone could be equal to each other or not. Like, and we are also discussing the North Korea situation. Everyone is equal there. Everyone is like all the population is having limited food and limited resources by the government, and they are all equal. And that's not the thing which we can see as something which should adopt by a person or any other country or society. So as per human rights, there are Quran also talks about the rights and there are rights of women and there are rights of men. And in the women rights, how Quran is different from other religions, or how Quran is, it seems to me, which Quran is unique or Islam is unique in aspect that in the financial means, like to make girl as an independent person, Quran gives so many, or Islam gives so many rights to women, and I could make that point that when a girl married to another a man, and that at that point a girl has a right to take money from the man for his living expenses and everything which he want to do, and girl can also earn money at the same point, but girl has no responsibility to share that money, or that doesn't comes in the rights of men to share that money with each other. If they want to do that, that's a different story. But I'm talking about the rights given to the woman at that point. And there's also something that if girl will be divorced at that point, at any point of their life, there's also something which he will get with Arabic language, but you can say that he will get that money if at that point that man wants to divorce her. Okay, and he wants to divorce her at that point, he also gets the money which will be decided at the beginning of the marriage. And there are a lot of other aspects, like if a woman get divorced, the babies would be like there could be no case. There could never be no case other than, like, there are some cases in the Sharia that the children could be with the dad, but most of and a girl has a really huge advantage with his rights, with her rights to claim the children at that point. And for the specifically for the burqa thing, maybe you know that hijab things which girls used to have in their mind, that I would like to share something. There, there's a YouTube channel called Hami, and that girl was she is a Muslim girl, and recently in in his previous video, he said that I will help on you. And he mentioned the reason behind it because showed the messages that by the audience, by her audience, that the audience said that we was distracted by your beauty and we that kind of things. And hello, Jenny, are you listening? Yeah, yeah. So more specifically, the hijab and burqa thing give girl as empowerment. That's what Quran describes it like that, and it gives you an opportunity to don't describe by your body, like as we know in the advertising agency or in the entertainment agencies nowadays, that industries, that there's a ad of chewing gum that, and in all of the ads, that girl is dancing with the bikini, and at the end we saw that that was just ad about the chewing gum. So Quran also describes that the advertisement of or show of your personality as by your body is not the right thing to do. Yeah, you could come on. The the yeah, you could do that in the, if I will talk about the Quran or Islam, you could do that in that scenario. That Quran claims that that book is from a man. It should have a contradiction because anyone could not be that much perfect with the chapters in each other. It means that Earth is revolving and evolving, and it will evolve till end. And it should, if and you will get to know about different aspects or different realities of the world. And if you think that's from the man, it will surely contradictory. It will be surely contradictory by your new discoveries and new realities. And that's something, if you know about scientific theories and scientific experimentations, you know, have falsification test for their new invention and new innovation at that point. Or you can take it as take that verse. Like there are two verses in the Quran, and first one was uh, for the Arabic peoples, because at that point Arabic people, Arabic poets, Muhammad, that could not be from the God. It is just a poetic book, because that was that the Quran is written in the form of poetry type thing. But it sounds like that it is a poetry if any person know Arabic language. So that claim was that verse comes for that Arabic poets and Arabic persons, that if you think that you could that could be just a good poetry, then just produce a poetry like that, which could help you with every aspect of every in your life, with every decisions or every problem which could be in your life, with social issues, criminal issues, and thing like that. So if you really want to interact, like there's a concept in Islam, if you want to talk to God, just read Quran. You could have every answer from that. So if you really want to interact with a Muslim God, or really want to ask the questions you have to the Muslim God, uh, I will suggest you to read Quran, or to find that how it explains in that book. You could have that opportunity by that. Okay. So you make some points about the Jews and that Abrahamic past of Muslims and the Jews and the Christians, and more specifically, if we talk about the Jews and Christians, we believe that the prophet which was sent to them was just for them. Like as you, if you ever interacted with a Jew, that they will say that they were chosen peoples by the God, and we do believe that they were the chosen peoples, and that prophet and that messenger was for that society at that time, and we do believe the world get interacted with the prophet of their time, and and, and what is the Muhammad? Muhammad, peace be upon him, was we believe as a last prophet, and that's something different, and more basically, like you can judge that person, like you can judge that book, you can judge that his personality, because Islam is not just the Quran. Okay, there's also comes in hadith, and you can never ever compare the Quran with the with any other religious book. uh, why you can not do that? Because there was maybe anyone of you heard about that book, the 100 influential personalities, and I just didn't remember the name of that author of that book, but that was the beginning of their time, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the first in that book, and that was from an American person. So in that book, that he also explained that why did he mention Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a person on the number one and the most influential person, and he explained that thing as that he says, I am a Christian. I want Jesus Christ to his personality, that he explained it like that Jesus was not the father, he was the father, and Jesus was not no have a father, he have a father. Jesus doesn't have children, he do have children. Jesus doesn't have sisters or brothers like that, literally. So he has that thing, and Islam is basically, if we talk about Islam, basically it helps you to overcome every problem in every aspect of your life. And as you mentioned about he, so a language, there's a default thing. You use a word for the third person, which you don't have to be in the genderly male or female. So there's a word in Arabic language which you can use for the third person as a neutrally, or for the first person or the second person as a neutrally, as a neutral gender. So that's a default in that's why you will see most of the Muslim peoples use the word he for God. Yeah, that's it. Okay, as you mentioned about the cultural thing, so the Arab culture was not that before when Holy Prophet came or became uh, preaching Islam in Makkah. He started preaching Islam in the Makkah when he was in the age of 40s, and before that, the culture. I will share culture of what was the culture of Makkah of Arabs of that time, the pagans of that time, that they used how they see the times. Majority of the times it happens that they used to bury a baby girl because they don't want a husband could buried or common
Sorry,
and
sorry. I just want to jump. I just want to jump in real quick. Dawood, your connection has been going in and out for most part throughout most of this. For most part, I've been able to. I don't know if he's still hearing this, but
it's good now.
Well, it's been kind of cutting in and out for most part. I think
No.
we've still been able to catch it, but I guess if there is anything that you need Dawood to repeat, I guess that's just something to kind of clarify for adjusting for that connection. It sounds a little better now though.
No, that's not the case because the manifesto or the teachings which he presents about the God by the Islamic teachings, you could literally test those teachings, that how it could be beneficial for you or beneficial for your life in different aspect in that. But the major concept of it was that God created Adam. If that concept will be clear if you see the uh, of the world and how God made it, and there are a lot of description in the Quran that you could testify these things, that we are modernized enough that nobody in the 14th century could have imagined or could have come through these kind of things which we have, the realities which we have now. So if you really want to question that thing, you could really adopt that. No, adoption is not a good word. Like, you could really testify that things that really it could be other than from the God or not. And I think everyone in this could not represent any idea about the water recycle or about the earth, or which earth is revolving about an axis, and the sun, the moon takes light from the sun, and there are so many other stories, other descriptions in the Quran, which really uh, linked up to the science, which we reflected by the science nowadays, and which is more objective which is more objectively proved nowadays. Um, uh,
What I'll do, so what I'll do here now, because we are past 30 minutes, Dawood, I'll give you a quick moment to respond to Daniel if you like. There was a comment that was suggesting, because I know there were some connection problems. Right now, your connection shows is good, but it could go bad at any moment. Who knows when we do want to hear you. I would suggest if you want to try turning off your video for your response, that would improve the audio quality possibly, or the connection speed if you do want to try that. But I'll give you the last word.
Now?
It might be better. We'll try it out. It might be better. We'll try it out here. But we'll give you a chance to respond to Daniel for the last word, and then we'll start getting into questions/continuing. So,
okay. So as Daniel was talking about the critics, or that I don't want to cross that line, and I believe, and as I mentioned so many things about questioning Quran, as I mentioned, to questioning Quran by the Quran, as Quran claims, and by the meaning of Quran claims means that I believe that Quran is the word of the God. Okay, so that's I could not have on any point could not check out all, because Quran also emphasizes your message, or what you need, or is it really what they claim to be, that nationality, or I already mentioned these kind of things, and that mentioned that I'm not being to be a limited person, and to be behind that limits, cross that limits, if there is something cross that limits. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. I don't know. We'll revisit anything that we may have missed. I was personally getting a little bit in and out with your connection, but hopefully others may have been able to hear. But so we will go into some Q&A right now. I want to thank you guys both for the discussion thus far, everyone for being with us here. So go ahead. If you guys do have any questions, I'll try to go as much in order as possible. You can use the raise hand feature. Everyone, I believe, is muted right now. You can when you are called on, you could unmute and talk, or you can hold on the space bar, and that kind of toggles the mute unmute. But I'm going to be rotating between anyone with their hand up versus any questions that have been put in the chat, which are a couple. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that will be good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Both. Yeah, for every question, both of you will have a chance to respond. And if there is one thing that you pose to the other, you guys can have like an opportunity to respond to each other if something is kind of put forward like that. So definitely there will be that option. But also, if a lot of questions do come flowing in, we do want to get to as many as possible. I personally have a lot for myself if we do run out of questions, but I'll defer to everyone else's questions first. I'm going to first go to the one that's in the chat here at the top of the list. There was a chat put in by Scott who said that he would like the debater to give their definition of God, quote unquote God. I first want to point that to Daniel, if you can give your definition of God. Okay. Dawood, if you could respond
Yeah.
to the question of what is the definition of God?
For me, definition of God is the one who created everything, universe, and which is beyond the universe or which is in the universe, and us human beings too, and more specifically to testify human beings or to test human beings, and yeah, that's the basic idea in Islam of God.
I want to follow up a little bit with Daniel's response just to get a little clarification. So you had mentioned that it's pretty much just like a fictional thing, but can you give a definition in terms of what is it, like, is it an idea? And if so, can you assign a definition to the idea? Because there are a lot of things that are fictional. I don't know. I wonder if it could be a little more specific, I guess. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go to the first hand up that's been up the longest here. I'm going to call on Keith if you'd like to put your question out.
Yeah, so first of all, I wanted to say that I appreciated the spirit of cooperation between the two debaters, and I think it really illustrates that debates do not have to be hostile or adversarial, and I wish there was more of that in America. So I didn't really hear very much in terms of an argument as to why I, as a skeptic, should believe in God. You know, if we were going to argue about whether Santa Claus exists or not, or whether unicorns exist or not, I would have, expected more of an argument rather than debates about culture and, whether the immorality of some Islamic people is related to their belief or just their own, character. To me, that's sort of a separate issue from, is it real? Is the theory of relativity true or not? We look at evidence, we don't look at whether it makes people more moral or less moral, or whether it's good for society or bad for society to believe in the theory of relativity. We look at the scientific evidence. I did hear a little bit of an argument kind of weaved in indirectly, which was that the reason perhaps that we should believe in the God or the Judeo-Christian God or the Islamic God is because there are things in the Quran, and perhaps also this argument could be made by Judeo-Christian believers, that there are things in the ancient texts that seem to be predict aspects of the world or the reality that may not have been available to people at that time. I think that's what I heard Dawood saying, that there are things in the Quran that would not have been known to people at that time unless the book was inspired by God. And I guess, I question that. To me, it's conspicuously missing that there are so many things that a real God would have given to people if these ancient texts were actually inspired by God. For example, the theory of disease, the invention of soap, the fact that the air gets less dense as we go higher, God could have told us about E equals MC squared. God could have told us about certain catastrophic events that were going to occur in the future, such as the explosion of Krakatoa, or and so many things, or the tsunami that there's so many things that could have come from God. Sure, go ahead.
What was that?
So, Dewitt, I'll let you respond both to Keith's question / response and also Daniel's. Go ahead, Dewitt.
Okay, so Keith was talking about that why it could be not like that, or why it could be soap or some other kind of stuff. So I could guarantee you, Keith, that every basic need concept is there in the Quran. From the virus thing, how should be you behaved, as I mentioned, I also shared that thing with Daniel before, that there is a hadith. Hadith is a saying of Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and there is him that whenever a virus comes in the land, the persons who are living in that land should not leave that land before it virus entered there, or the persons who are living outside from that land should not get into that land. Okay, so that was at that point, Arab was not that type of society to have that kind of lockdowns, or to have that kind of societal approaches to different cities at that time. So, what I mean to say by that point is that every basic concepts, every basic social rights, every basic criminal rights, and everything which you basically need at that point uh, is there in the Quran. And other than that, the how Earth revolves, and as I mentioned, these kind of things by the scientific approach. Uh, these are also in the Quran, that how Earth revolves by its axis, and how sun takes moon takes light from the sun. And I can guarantee you, obviously, if you are really being a real mutually honest person with me, um, Daniel, so I could guarantee, or I will say that obviously you will agree with me that in the 14th century, a person from area which has all the pagan Arabs in that area could never have that idea that sun is taking moon is taking light from the sun, and it is a reflection of it. And there are also so many other aspects, like the Quran also defines about the reproduction system, like uh, before 19th century, uh, before the invention of electron microscope, we don't know how uh, reproduction system works. Like there was a theory before that there is a small human being in the sperm, and they get into the woman body, and then a human baby reproduce in that belly of that woman. So after 19th century, when we discovered electron microscope, and we get into the details and deepness of that concept, we get to know that they sperm is a leech type thing, which get injected into the egg, which is in the belly of women, and then that's how really that works. That's how a baby reproduce in that portion, and that's also described in the Quran in that 14th century. So that was the sum of the points. That there are so many other points, so many scientific theories, which as I mentioned before, that what is the meaning of contradiction, as Quran claiming at that point. That means contradiction is that we are evolving. We are evolving very fastly. We are getting to know by the realities, by the different algorithms and the methods of making by ourselves to the realities of that world. And we could see that, or we could testify that by that concept, that now we know the reality, or could it reality could be known by someone in the 14th century, which could be human being, not someone or not have be a messenger of God. I think I'm answered to both of you.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go to, so I was going to go to the next chat question that was put in by Parker, but I see Parker also has his hand up. So I will defer to you, Parker. I like your chat question, though. I would like to read that one out, but I'll go to you first. You have your hand up. Go ahead. You're muted.
Okay. I think I'm unmuted now.
Mm-hmm.
I think, okay, what I'm going to say is perhaps along the same lines of what I wrote in the chat anyway. So I'm trying to formulate exactly how I want to say this without just dumping my own opinion on the matter onto all of you. I guess I'm curious about one of the first things that was put in the chat, which was for each of you to sort of describe what your conception of God is. And you did actually answer that, each very briefly. And Daniel, you said God is a heuristic, and Dawood, you said God is the force that created the universe. And I think I want to dive into that a little bit and ask what exactly would it mean for both of you, and in light of your responses, what exactly would it mean then to say God exists or God doesn't exist? Suppose we take a view that, like, something created the universe, right? Something did, and perhaps it was the thing that created the universe is the circumstances that happen to be in place combined with the laws of physics that exist. And those sort of things you could, even if you're quite a devout atheist, I think you could think of the world as one in which the laws of physics exist just beyond the physical world that you see, and they sort of, they control what happens. And so I think a view of God that covers the definition of, well, God created the universe is God is the forces that govern the world, the sum of all the forces that govern the world. And if you do right, if you behave correctly, you will have a good life. And if there's no God in perhaps the traditional sense, then the reason behaving well gives you a good life is because of other forces that exist. And so if we take whatever those mechanisms are that reward you when you behave well, because I think from observation you can see that when you behave well, you generally are rewarded. And you sort of take whatever those forces are, whatever the nature of them are, and it's almost certainly not a man with a beard sitting in the clouds, but it's some sort of, there's a mechanism there, one way or another. And it is also, even in a very scientific way of thinking, it is also directly tied to the way the world works, which is also tied to the origin of the universe. You take whatever that is and you say, that is God. And so that's kind of my opinion. And so what I'm wondering then is, in light of what you said when you answered what is God, what would it mean then for God to exist or to not exist? Like, if a heuristic is a way, if a heuristic is a way to think about, to kind of articulate, and maybe to perhaps personify. Okay, I understand. I'll just shut up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dawood.
Doesn't count as God? I guess I just want to clarify. Is that your view then?
Also, sorry, I'll let Parker respond to that. So, sorry, Parker,
Yeah.
can you repeat that?
Well, I think what I heard is that the mechanisms are kind of inevitable, actually, is sort of, in a way, what I heard you say. But I think the question I really want to ask is, what do you mean when you say God doesn't exist, if God is the heuristics? Because the heuristics certainly exist.
I'd like to go to Dawood to respond to. Go ahead, Dawood, to respond to Parker's question.
Yeah. So could you repeat the question, Paul, for clarification of me? I remember that, but I want
Okay.
to listen that. No.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to ask about what the nature of God. What exactly do you think God is? And could it be that what you think of as
Actually,
God perhaps manifests in the same way for practical reasons, but really is simply the laws of nature or something like that?
in the Quran, it is described like anything. Like there in the Quran, there are God gave Himself 99 names with the different meanings in itself, and there are so many religious Islamic scholars who give their full lives to conceptualizing the Islamic God. And there's a really clear-cut verse in the Quran that anything which you could assume or which you could think of or which you could not think of is not God. So by that concept is that you could conceptualize in a material form. In like I could conceptualize that that person could have that kind of hairs or that kind of um, glasses on his eyes and something which I have seen before or which I could have seen or I could just make some difference in that picture, but I could not conceptualize beyond that picture. So it's written in the Quran that whatever human mind could imagine or could not imagine is not the concept of God. So you could never get to the concept of the God, what really it is. But as in the Quran, God tried to explain Himself in different ways to conceptualizing what He could be.
Awesome. Okay, I'd like to go to Jim with your hand up. Go ahead, question, Jim.
You get the answer?
So I got a question for both. So for Dawood, you mentioned at the beginning in your opening statement that belief in God is consistent with science and logic, and your definition of God, if I recall, is created the universe and his tests. So does your definition of God include a God who listens to and answers prayers, performs miracles, intervenes in our lives? And if so, how does that square with the logic and science part of your belief?
Okay. If you generalize that concept in a logical way, that if first we have to think that is it really the God which we believe on, and to testify that thing, the persons who are doing that miracles, and who are claiming to be the messenger or the prophet of the God, we could that could only be I think an intellectual approach to get to know the answer of that question, and we could only get to the answer of that question by approaching the messengers, what they claim to be from the how they can do the miracles and how they can do such kind of things, and as the nature of God is believed by the theist persons. Most of the theists believe that the nature of God is a supernatural, and obviously we could not reconcile that it could be the nature of the God.
So that's not part of your. That's not in the aspect of God, an aspect of God that you're arguing for.
No, actually, the logic and the science and the rationality is about the is that really God is or not. Okay, so if you talk about the miraculous God, obviously miracles doesn't sound logical or scientific or rational to us. And what they claim miracles are, they claim miracles are from the supernatural. Okay, so that means that we don't know anything which is supernatural, so we could not use that logic, scientific and rational theories on it. So we could use is that concept of God which is in the Quran. Is it really, is that Muhammad which describe us, that which comes with that book, is it really from the God or not? Or in a logical way, if I talk about that thing, so you could testify Muhammad itself, if you really get into deep into that thing. You could testify Muhammad itself that he could be a liar at that point, or he could be deceived, or he could be crazy to get to know an absolute truth concept. And if he is not by deceived or liar or crazy at that point, if Quran or Hadith or the history of his life could explain to you that he could never be that three variables uh, could never be upon that personality. So obviously by default you have to accept that he has to be telling the truth. So if he is telling the truth, so that doesn't matter what you think about the Quran or what do you think about the conceptualization of the God. By default, the Quran has to be the truth. You get my point?
Okay, I get the argument.
You get
So,
the argument. Okay.
you gave a definition of God, but I would rather hear your definition of the God you're arguing against.
Me, my concept.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jim, for the question. Now, I had a question of my own, and the reason why I'm somewhat injecting it is because Peter had posted in the chat a bit earlier an identical question. So I'm going to kind of merge both Peter's question in the chat with what I had for myself written down. And that is, so what Peter had said in the chat for you guys both to respond to is, by existence, do we mean that God exists in a way, and I think this is really for Dawood to first answer. By existence, do we mean that God exists in a way that one of the 5 human senses can detect God, or is it an extension of our imagination? So one of my questions was, is God observable within our observable universe? So Dawood, I guess if you want to first try responding to that. Is God something that exists and is detected within one of the 5 human senses?
Yeah, is it like quantifiable? Another way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as I mentioned before, I think I did answer that question before, but I could give that again. But, I quoted the Quran. That Quran said that everything which you could imagine, or everything which could come in your imagination, or which is beyond your imagination, that could not be the God. So I think that answers that. If you could use every sense of you, you could never reach what really God is. You could just try to conceptualize, and you could just try to conceptualize by what He reveals to us by His messengers, and that is the only approach I think could be. Yeah, that's it.
So just to clarify real quick, so the extension of the imagination is not God, but you would say that God exists within our senses, like we can detect it, or in other words, God is observable in your mind?
No, in my mind, I don't think so. Like, it's not in my mind. I don't want to give my opinion on it. I will describe it as like what is in the Quran. So Quran said that you could not sense God, or you cannot touch God, you cannot see God, and that's beyond your imagination. By that human body, there is a concept of ruh, that soul. So when you will be in the form of soul, then you could be able to see God, and within that human body, you don't have that ability or capability to interact with the God in a naturalistic or physical form.
Awesome. Daniel, did you have any of that? Yeah, so Peter's chat, and kind of my question that I had written was whether or not God is observable. You know, when we talk about evidence and like the observable universe, but Peter's question, I think, is in line with that, is whether or not God can be detected through the senses, through the 5 senses, or is it simply an extension of our imagination, or is it beyond that? I think I know your answer to that, but I guess if you can respond either to the question or to Dawood's answer. Awesome. Okay. We will go to the next chat question, and then we'll go to a hand up that we see here. But there was a chat that was put in by John, and it was a question for Dawood. Question for Dawood, as he stated that there are concepts in Quran that are scientifically proven is right. I think there are concepts in Quran that are scientifically proven wrong, like, for example, how Quran states in several places how the earth is flat like a carpet, which has obviously been proven wrong. So is the rightness in Quran merely a coincidence?
Okay, so Quran doesn't say there's a Quran is not like other holy books that you can have a free right to interpret however you want to. There is a specific science how you can interpret Quran, and there are some verses which interpret other verses and which explains other verses, and there are some verses which are came as a teaching. Like every verse in the Quran is comes in the result of teaching to Holy Prophet at that time. Okay, so at that point, it's not written there that it's flat like a carpet. What's written there in the
Yeah, that was in the,
yeah,
yeah,
how
that was
Earth
referenced in
is
the chat.
flat like a carpet. Okay, so it's not a flat. It's like Earth is carpeted. Okay, so by that mean Earth has layers. Okay, so if that concept is called tafsir al Quran, like an interpretation of Quran, and if you go through that interpretation, so the flat word doesn't come in the linguistically, and there are some websites like it and that concept just come in 21st century by David Wood, from the person from UK, and if we talk about the linguistically, there are so many people who refuted that concept. Say linguistically, you put that flat word that doesn't come in that as a flat. Okay, so that verse is that you could not see that how I made Earth with the different carpets and how it is carpeted, and I think it is also one of the shocking thing which any person in the 6th century, 1400 years before, who could have that kind of idea that Earth has a layers.
Sorry, if I can follow up.
By that carpeted thing, the carpeted thing, so like and it doesn't mean that it could not be oval. There are other verses which also describes the shape of the Earth. If you like, I could see upon that thing.
Well, if I could follow up on that just a little bit, because now I don't know the exact passage, so I'm kind of taking John's chat at face value, but it is referring to the flatness specifically. Like I would think that if your interpretation was correct, then it would say that the Earth is layered like a carpet because you're referring to layers.
Yeah.
But it is not necessarily saying layers.
Yeah.
But now the quote based on the chat from John is that it is flat like a carpet, not necessarily layered like a carpet. So now, would you disagree with the idea that the Quran is claiming that the Earth is flat?
No, I'm claiming that that is not the right interpretation of that verse.
Okay, Daniel, did you have a response?
Flat word is added to that verse, and that's not that. Let me complete that thing. Sorry, Daniel. So that's not a new thing for Muslims to have a critique or criticism by non-Muslims and that kind of thing. And there are so many great scholars in the Middle East who were non-Muslims and have good critique on Islamic idea or on the Quran and the Hadith, that kind of thing. So the idea to be a carpeted thing, like obviously you could have that idea that carpet could be a flat, or carpet could be a if it is on the stairs, it could be in that random shape, or if you could copy it that or any kind of shape, it could make that shape. So that was just shared the idea of layered in the on the earth. And there are some other verses, if we talk about the shape of the earth, there are some other verses which talk about the deepness, about the shape of the earth, which is mentioned about the egg of the ostrich and that kind of shape. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Okay, Daniel, I don't know if you had any response to the question or Stuart's answer. Awesome. Okay, I'd like to go to Elliot with your hand up. Go ahead with your question, Elliot.
Actually,
Or
before that,
if you have a quick response, go ahead.
Yeah, quick response. If you could share my screen, I could share my screen.
There's a screen share option. There's a little icon next to the raise hand, and then your tile becomes your screen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and there it is. So that was the verse, chapter.
Oh, okay.
That was the Surah Nuh. Wallahu Jamal Takumul Arda Bismat. So these are some different interpretations from different persons. Like obviously, the Quran is preserved as it was revealed in the Arabic language. So you could just interpret how you know that Arabic language. So that was I was talking about that. No one has mentioned anywhere, like that's why I just want to you guys to see that flat is just come into being in that verse uh, by David Wood person and some other websites. There are who claim to be uh, like a refuting Islam type website, something
Awesome.
like that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Tuid. Yeah, that's great sharing that context.
It is, there's not any exclusiveness in the carpet, but I think maybe it could be why it is the concept of carpet. It is why carpet, as you mentioned before. I think we Muslims used to pray, and we used to have a carpet to pray, and that carpet should be cleaned, and that's not that it should be the carpet. It should be a cleaned place. And obviously, if you have a carpet thing, a little carpet thing, and the place is dirty somehow, so you could lay down your carpet there, and you could pray there at that time because that carpet is clean at that point. So maybe God uses that concept of carpet or uses that word carpet because the persons or the people of that time could understand it much easy. Because obviously, if God said that there is a layers and all the geographical aspects of that layered concept, which we understand now, that could never be understood by those peoples who are living in that 6th century or in the middle of 7th century. Maybe
Awesome.
that's just my opinion.
All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, and thanks, Dawood, for that context. That is great showing that. Elliot, I'd like to go to you with your question. You have your hand raised.
Yeah, this is for Daniel. And I'm not sure how to ask this because I want this taken rather seriously, because I wonder how you regard believers. Because so far I get the impression of you as an anthropologist, looking at this, rather dismissing people's beliefs as heuristic or metaphor. And you do realize that believers don't see the world that way.
I don't know if you have a response to it.
Well, I would respond with one thing, and that is that you guys get along. That's good. You guys are a galaxy apart. Okay, just to be really clear, just because you get along doesn't mean you're anywhere near each other. No. No faith. I'm not saying I disagree with you in terms of belief systems. I find your position, and I'm not talking about you as a person, I find your position rather a kind of an arrogant position. I don't mean you're saying the way you're saying it or anything like that, but I think you really are not coming to grips with people who don't believe what you believe. And you're including them in your metaphorical conception of philosophy and the world. That's okay.
Dawood, do you have any response to, I guess, anything?
Nothing.
No?
Yeah.
Awesome. Parker, let's go to you. Go ahead. Parker, a quick question. I do want to give a chance for both Daniel and Dawood to give somewhat of a closing statement, but also this kind of also opens it up to open discussion at the same time. So we can also expand on it. So Parker, go ahead. Oh, you're muted again, sorry.
Yeah, you're muted, brother. Brother, you're muted.
Yep. Parker, if you can, yeah, there you go.
Still muted.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
I didn't realize I was muted. I was going to comment on Elliot's question, but perhaps I'll just wait till till the discussion portion in a few minutes. That'd be fine.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I didn't see that. I may have seen it go on and off, but Lawrence, go ahead if you have a question. Oh, you're muted right now.
You're muted, Lawrence.
If you hit the mic icon. Either that, or if you hold the space bar, that will take you off mute. There you go. If you hold on the space bar and talk, it should take care of it. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Aha! Oh my God. So, thank you both, Dawood, Daniel. Appreciate your time. But so, I think the question goes mostly to Daniel regarding. I agree. Sorry, the necessity for a heretic belief for survival, and how it enriches culture. But is that really necessary for survival? And I have many more questions. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, but move up a couple levels. So, is this heuristic behavior or belief necessary for a culture to survive? And what is it required? And what do we do if we don't? Right. Mhm. But yeah, yeah,
If I could rephrase it a little bit, just to kind of follow Lawrence's question, and I want to give Dawood a chance to respond, but Daniel, if I can kind of put the question in a way, and I'm hoping it's a really short answer, because I do want Dawood to respond, but could it be that in terms of whether or not the idea of God is necessary for survival versus is the idea of God simply a big rumor gone wrong that happens to coincide with our society? Or is it part of what makes us the society that we are today? Or is it just kind of there with us as part of this ongoing rumor?
exactly. Who knows? Yep, yep.
Go. It's a big question. I'll go to Dawood if you have any response to either Lawrence's question or Daniel's response.
Okay. I don't know what was the Lawrence question, so I could respond to Daniel. Then Lawrence, please, you could repeat after that your question. Okay. So I will also just add something in your question to Daniel by my side, what I believe on that part. So I think, like literally, I think for the survival, we don't need in that world for the survival. Like that's also there's also comes in the idea that what do you mean by the survival, or do you mean by the survival just to live a life, or just to live a good life, or just to live a life with a good character, or with a good money, or with a healthy health, or that kind of thing. There are a lot of aspects. So there are two aspects that you could have a survival without having that concept in some form that you could live, and many people as live, and you could be a healthy person other than that too, and I agree with that thing. But basically what religions gives you, or religions teaches and instructs you, gives you how you could be healthier, and it doesn't matter that sometimes it happens to us. We also know that there are desirable things exist in ourselves, and we need some sort of motivations, and some religious people's claims that with that motivation also comes to the concept of God. Okay, so if we see the other angle of it, that there are so many other people who are not believer on the God, and take motivations from other aspects. But morely, the theist idea about the survival is that we don't care about the survival of that world, and because we as we know, and that's not what we just believe. That's what we know, that we have to be end up as a dead person. Okay, we don't know the reality of after death, but we know that there's a reality which is death, and we need the as a Muslim we need need to follow the instructions and the teachings of the Quran to for the survival in judgment and afterlife. That's Islamic point of view.
Awesome. Okay. I am going to step away a quick moment, but I do want to give.
Lawrence has a question. I think so.
Oh yeah.
You have a question, Lawrence? Yeah.
I do. Always. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Lawrence.
So,
Yeah.
survival in Muslim is limited to your life, but your children, their children, I mean your culture, right? The whole community, you know, we want them, all of the things, and so how to make the entire world survive with what culture and what belief? Oh God, or what? I don't know.
Okay. I will mention, like, as Daniel before also talked about that culturalistic thing, about the religion thing. So more about that, if you talk about the science of it behind, or the concept behind it, like if you believe on something and you have children and you literally believe and you literally think that you have evidence and that evidence is enough for you to believe on that thing, obviously you will really much like to know to your family members or your parents or your children or your friends. You will like to know, like more specifically you will like to teach your children, because you think or you believe at that point that that is the truth at that point. Okay, so whenever it happens that one person find the truth and he claimed to be that he believe at that point he know that truth, so that cycles works, and that's not like that they want to make a society or different culture at that point. It happens automatically. That's not what you could stop by something. That's a natural. You get it? So to end up a belief in a culture is nothing to do with the belief. It's a cycle where it's a cycle of reality in which world we are living. You're mute, brother. Lawrence, you're mute.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I missed what you just said.
You missed. At the last point, I just said that the belief which end up in a culturalistic thing is nothing to do with the belief. It's a cycle, a reality of cycle which comes into be that type of a society or a culture. Like if so, you didn't listen to me from the beginning, or which part you didn't listen?
I did. I listened.
Okay, thank you.
So what I like to do at this point, so it's just kind of continue the way it is in terms of like just kind of becoming open discussion as far as people can just kind of interject with something, but because there are a certain number of people on here, it'd be tough. So I will simply call on people with their hand raised, and I might inject some of my own talking points in the middle. But I do first want to just give both Daniel and Dewey both a chance to give kind of somewhat of a closing statement, if but also you guys still welcome to stick around. Everyone welcome to stick around for just any common open discussion. I want to first give it to Daniel, if you want to give any kind of closing statement before we continue. Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. Dawood, I don't know if you had any closing statements before we go on to more open discussion.
Okay, I will close it like that. That to believe in a God, and I would like to welcome all of you that you should read. But there is a person in the 6th century which came into be in that Saudi Arabia, in that Makkah, and he came with so many ideas and so many things which he claimed to be by the God. And I would like you guys to research it by yourselves. Obviously, by the topic, does God exist? So I'm saying yes, but obviously I could not prove that, as I mentioned it before in the early statement. I think I mentioned it. I could not prove that does God exist. Okay, so I could say that why I believe on that, as I mentioned before that. So you could see by that point in that religion, is it really what they claim to be, that person, or is it really for from that which he claimed to be, that uh, conceptually or logically, or with a good intellectual approach to that idea. And you could also check out the ideas, that how a society could work, how a governance should be, how how what is the right of husband, what is the right of wives, what is the right of parents, what are the rights of children. In that in the middle of 6th and 7th century, a person came with these type of ideas, from where it could be. So I think that could be. But saying that thing, that doesn't mean that you should believe that because he came upon by that ideas. By sharing that thing, it is to know you guys. For me, or for everyone, besides Muslim, I share that thing. That was really shocking for them. That in that 6th to 7th century, it comes a person comes with that sort of ideas and what he claimed to be at that time. So I think that you could research upon by yourself, and that could help you to know some more ideas and some more new aspect of life. Yeah, that's it, maybe.
Awesome. Thanks, Dawood. And so real quick, I know we will continue this basically into just kind of an open discussion with everybody here, and I'll call on people with their hands up. But I do just real quick want to thank both Dawood and Daniel for participating in tonight's debate. It's very interesting. I really like the structure that you guys have both agreed to in terms of just kind of that open back and forth. So yeah, just thank you both for participating. And I just want to remind everybody that we are very open for anyone that's interested in participating in any kind of a debate of any kind, regardless of the topic, or it could be no topic at all, kind of an improvised kind of thing. We strongly recommend it. We can make it fit for any preferences that you might have. So definitely message me directly if it's something that you're interested in doing. Thank you guys both again, and thank you everyone for being a part of this tonight. But to kind of continue this into just kind of open discussion, Parker, you had your hand up before. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to put there. As we go into this.
Answered my question.
Oh, okay, it was answered. Okay. Elliot, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to assure Daniel that I wasn't worried about whether it was hurting anybody's feelings, and Rick knows me well enough that that isn't a big concern for me. What I was basically saying is that I don't think you take the subject of religion seriously, and I know that that probably surprises you. But you know, it seems you've come to a position, you're comfortable with yourself and what you think. But I think there are some very serious thinkers on religion that would, you know, chew up some of your arguments, and that's all I'm saying. I mean, you know, I don't think you have I don't think you have a proper respect for the depth of that experience. That is, after all, the sum total of all human experience until 400 years ago. I, I think you just did. No, no problem you believe. No, exactly. It just is your interpretation. I'm just saying what I think you just said is a certainty about what would happen if people weren't on Earth. All kinds of things that are pretty unknowable.
Well, I was gonna say, I think Rick just sent me a private message stating that right after you guys were having that conversation, I was gonna ask my question. So I guess I'll type in my question as well into the chat section. So we're not gonna suffer from this connection issue. So this is a question more for Daniel, actually. So if you could read that. So my question is, should some human cultures be tested or changed from time to time in order to be more in line with contemporary societies? And then I guess I wanted to know what you think about this. At the same time, I also understand the challenge with asking such a question is that it requires certain moral high ground. Therefore, we have to ask ourselves, why should we be the one to have the moral high ground over other people or other culture? So what do you think about this?
So sorry, I think it's like a matter of timing. So if we're going to combine religions over time, or to be acute to respond to emergencies, and also to, what was the third thought? I don't know. But anyway, like, it's all timing. Like, how long is this going to take? Come together? Or should we be diverse enough to manage those emergencies?
So,
Right. Sorry. So, or again, is the diversity necessary for survival? Sorry. So, is the diversity among religions, cultures, whatever, necessary for survival?
mm. Could you repeat it? Sorry, I didn't listen.
Is diversity necessary for survival?
Is diversity necessary? I think diversity is a reality if you see it on another angle. So I will take it. Diversity is a reality, and I don't see any part to link up diversity from the survival, because you couldn't say that we could survive with the reality. Obviously, you have to. You don't have any other option. You get my point?
I think so. I have a quick question to pose, I guess, to both of you, both Daniel and Dawood, and I want to go to others. But I'm hoping these will be short questions, even though these will be very loaded questions. But they are very short answer questions I'm hoping for.
Wow.
So regarding both of your guys' positions, as far as how do you get to your positions? So for Dawood, my question for you would be, do you get to your conclusion of yes, God exists because of what the Quran says, and then you go from Quran to yes, this is true, therefore God exists? Or do you believe that God exists in one way or another? What kind of God is it? And you then conclude that the God of the Quran is correct. Which one does your line of rational thinking go to, Dawood?
And more basically, like obviously I'm a born Muslim, so I believe I was teached like that and instructed like that by my parents and the society which I was living. So other than that, apart from that, so as by me, I believe that I could not have any doubt uh, by knowing our reproduction system and uh, that that if there is no male and female person, we could not be there could not be a third person, and that finite we could have we should have a finite past at that point. So I don't think so that there could be any doubt on that thing, that there is something by which we are here, and why I believe the Quran has a best explanation, or which could have a perfect explanation uh, for that being of for that cause of us, because I think that basically Quran first of all Quran claims that, and everything which Quran claims itself, it is exclusive, that which could not be from the man. Okay, so I will not claim that I come into that conclusion by that thing or that thing or that thing, because I am a born Muslim. I was a Muslim, so I will not give you a fairy tale story of of that type of thing. But basically, you take that answer by that that I believe on the God by the concept which describes in the Quran, or by the Quran, or by the Islam.
Real quick follow up to that. Is there such thing as a born again Muslim? Have you heard of the concept of born again?
Born again Muslim as a after death.
Well, it's common in Christianity. There's a born again Christian where many Christians, at least I can only speak for people in the United States.
Like a second life?
No. Kind of like not like born again within the spirit. Kind of like maybe you grew up in a Christian family, and then there's a point where maybe when you've matured a little bit more, you kind of accept God into your hearts personally, and it's just what you were taught growing up. It's like a personal decision they make to accept the belief you have, and not just what you're taught. Is there any concept like that in Islam?
No, there's no such kind of concept in Islam. If you leave Islam at that point, you could not born again like in Islam. The born again concept is for the reverts who was atheist, or who were from any other religion and became Muslim. We could say that they are born Muslim. They are like a born Muslim. They are what do you say, like in the eyes of God at that point, they are like a newborn babies, because whatever they did before, that doesn't count on that part. Every sin they did before, that doesn't count on that part. So it is only for reward. But anyone who leaves Islam at that point, if he want to come back to Islam, he has to say Toba. Toba means basically that you have to apologize to God, and that's not by someone, but by imam, or by any representative of Muslim or Islamic scholar. That's the relation of you and your God, and you have to do that by yourself. So that's not you could have to explain other people's in your society or in your surroundings.
Okay, and I guess a similar question I have for Daniel, and maybe phrased differently, but regarding how you come to the conclusion that you have. So that when I find it funny because you kind of distance yourself from the idea of atheism or atheists, but you do seem to take a very hard conclusion that the idea of God is fictitious or is fiction. So versus nonfiction. So God is kind of this hypothetical idea. He either exists or doesn't exist. He's either fiction or nonfiction. how do you come to? Is there a specific rational line of thinking that you come to that leads to the conclusion that God is fiction? But you are coming to a conclusion that God is fictitious, though, correct? Okay, Elliot, go ahead. Your hand's up.
Yeah, this is for Lawrence. It is Lawrence, right? It seems that earlier when you were talking, you seemed to think that the religions might be homogenized or made more uniform, or so you were saying something of that. Can you follow up on that a little?
Sure. So I thought that at one moment maybe they might be homogenized, and at the next moment I thought, no, diversity is better because that gives us evolution to overcome emergencies. For whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's just like I was just thinking of that.
Is that what you think religion is for? Is to overcome emergencies? I'm confused by what.
I think it's a belief system that helps culture develop their just lifestyles to manage life and any particular emergency that might arise. So I don't know. What do you think?
Are you religious? I'm just curious. This is not a...
Yeah. So I'm actually Buddhist. I mean,
Well, I guess that there's a tying in between emergencies versus survival, because you have to survive an emergency. Is that kind of what you're getting at, Lawrence, in terms of survival? Like, is religion and belief in God part of our survival, and we need that to overcome certain emergencies?
well, yeah. I mean, so a belief in a system, like as a community, would help the community overcome both survival in long term and an emergency. So
Could you
sure,
give an example?
Yeah, Lawrence, do you have an example for that?
nope.
Okay.
Awesome. Parker, go ahead. Your hand's up.
There are a number of topics I'm tempted to comment on, but this discussion has gone in a very interesting direction. I've got an example that maybe it's what you're thinking, I'm not sure. The tsunamis are very rare, particularly deadly ones. And most people have never seen one. And most people who do see one only see one in their entire lives. So knowing what to do when a tsunami comes, or recognizing the signs that a tsunami is coming is pretty rare. Most people are taken by surprise. I do recall a story that I heard, which may or may not be true, but I hope it's true because I like it, that in 2005 or whenever it was, the giant Indian Ocean tsunami, that a tribe in a fairly primitive tribe in Indonesia somewhere, maybe, the entire tribe survived because they had an ancient legend which told them that when the ground shakes and then the water recedes or something, they must rush to high ground or something. And they had no idea why, but they believed this story. And so they survived, and all the people around them died. And clearly that, I suspect that if you find the knowledge of how to survive something terrible, and you just tell somebody in simple terms, they'll forget. Especially if hundreds of years go by before that thing happens again. Sooner or later it will be forgotten. But if you use a mechanism like a story or a legend, something that's likely to persist, I think it's more likely that knowledge will, as long as the essence of the story is the essence of the essential knowledge, certainly more likely to survive. I think about our society's rapid evolvement, and I also think about, earlier someone brought up the better angels of our nature. By a lot of objective measures, we're doing better than we've ever done in history, and yet it's not clear that people are actually happier than we've ever been. But even though a lot of scientifically minded people find it hard to believe in God, some of the most content people that I know are quite religious. And so if our goal is to be content or satisfied or happy or to live meaningful lives, maybe our rapid technological development and our busy modern lives is not the best way to live. And also, maybe it's not the best way to survive a crisis. And I often joke that the Amish are going to outlive us all, but it's really only slightly a joke. I actually kind of think it's true. And if there's a catastrophic event, maybe due to climate change or something else, a community like the Amish will likely come together. They may know what to do, and they may not know why they know what to do. But I can picture them surviving, right? If climate change causes a terrible winter, or maybe, like in 1880 or whatever, when there essentially was no summer, I feel like And it's kind of just a gut instinct, and maybe it's a grass is greener kind of thing because I'm not part of a religious community, but my gut tells me that there are kind of implicit mechanisms in place in communities like that which really do serve the purpose of getting them through tough times. And for people whose society is built on more logical or mechanisms, we may not know what to do when the unexpected happens, and we may not know why we should even do anything. When we lose faith in something, we wonder whether it should even be preserved. And I see this in politics. Like people, when we lose faith in, say, the greatness of our nation, people think, well, maybe it's not even worth saving. And so an interesting observation, and then I'll stop, is, well, you asked the question, is diversity of religion or culture necessary for survival? I'm not so sure it is. I think a lot of cultures have survived for many, many generations very isolated, without a whole lot of contact with other cultures. But religion or a system of belief that people can rally around that in some way at least resembles religion may actually be necessary for society to survive. I cannot think of one that has survived for very long in the grand scheme of things without that.
Cool.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of stepping in and out. I'm listening, even if you guys can't see me, but I do have a question I kind of want to put out to both of you, and I think that this kind of really ties into things that Parker's been saying, but I also want to turn it over to Peter. But I do want to put this question out there: is the practicality of God existing, like like if there's a practical benefit of God existing, and does a practical benefit equate to evidence of God? Like, just because it's practically beneficial to a society, does that mean there is evidence that God exists, or is it just this coincidental beneficial illusion that happens to benefit our existence? Is that considered evidence in your guys' opinions?
It's definitely a separate question.
I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit. What do you mean by the metaphysics? I know it's got to make sense though. It has to make sense though. I mean, so can you give a brief example of that? What do you mean in the metaphysics sense? Well, I guess what I'm getting at is that, like, your definition of God from the beginning was simply the dogma, which I guess is just kind of like the teachings of people among other people, which I guess can have certain practical implications among society when there are certain rules that are being taught. But if there's any kind of a moral argument, I guess it comes down to like a moral argument either for or against God. Like, how could a God exist if all horrible things happen? So I guess one way of rephrasing. Oh, okay, go ahead.
House
I have
next
no
door to
idea.
where Sherlock Holmes lives.
Well, right. Well, okay, so that assigns then that just means it's purely subjective then. Like it's as meaningful or as real as we decide that it is. I mean, for instance, I had no idea what 222 Baker Street was, so it means nothing to me. Um, well, no, I would say absolutely not because I had no idea what it meant. So I would, if you were to ask me, I mean, am I just not part of my culture? I mean, what is culture in that sense? Like it just a form of collectivism. Like what about the people that don't are not familiar with that address? Like it's a very collectivist way of right. Well, I guess okay. So I do want to pass it over, but I guess that just simply mean that it's subjective because you either find meaning in it or you don't. And I guess you could say the same thing about survival. Either survival has value or it doesn't, and that's just a subjective thing that we either decide on. Right. But we're talking about survival though. Like maybe we're all surviving because we want to survive. So maybe that's the coincidence of it all. Like it's subjective. If we want it, then maybe we'll make it happen. The people that don't want to survive are not surviving. They're not here because they didn't want to be here. I mean that's what I mean. I guess by subjective. Well, yeah, I can respond to that, but I first want to go to Peter. You've had your hand up for a while. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, hey, so this is probably my last question for the day, but like before, I will also type in my question to the chat section, so you guys can read that as I'm asking that. So this is a question for both Daniel and Dawood. The reason I want to ask this is because I just truly want to hear the two different perspectives on why you guys think about this particular situation, and it has a lot to do with my personal profession. So I just posted that question right there. So you guys can just read that question. But so to give you like a little background about myself, so I work in a healthcare setting, right? And so I am a surgeon, and I definitely do emergency surgeries almost on a daily basis, probably working on like at least 50 people a day, if that's considered lucky. And sometimes I don't do emergency surgeries, which is those are called non-emergent surgeries. So in those cases, I have noticed this. Now, this doesn't happen too often, but it happens enough for me to really get to my attention, which is when the surgery is successful, obviously, and you tell the family member of that patient that your son, daughter, whatever it's to them, the relation to them is, that they are safe and alive and well, and all they need to do is, A, B, C, and D, and then they will recover in no time. And once in a while, I will get a hug personally from especially the females of the family because they're more emotional in that regard. But I have noticed this. A lot of them tend to say thank God right in front of me as they are hugging me. And whether or not how I perceive that, whether I'm offended or I like that or I have no feelings, that's not part of the conversation. So my question to you guys is, why do you think some people think that only some people are creations of God?
Yeah, then you just say it first. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then either Daniel or someone else can answer that.
Yeah, Dawood, I don't know if you had an answer to that.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Daniel. David, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you sounds like you're muted, Dawood.
You can hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Regarding the first question, what do you think that some people believe that some people are creations of God? So both questions are about my opinion. It's nothing to do with my belief. So it's my opinion. So I believe belief is something a result of a proposition, and they get proposed by their parents or by their friends, or they just believe on that thing, and then they come into in the end they come into belief on that thing. And maybe it could be because obviously I don't know that person, so I don't know what is the reality of it. But the answer could be in the maybe form, just in that thing. And other than that, I think majority people who are theist, they like to say that thank God, because uh, they think like I also experienced that thing, that they think that you are the cause of they believe that you are the cause of their healthiness. Obviously there could be no doubt, but they believe that God sent you, the God made you, the